Hey Internet. Welcome to Worldview Everlasting, your favorite YouTube addiction.
Mother, there is no other like mother, so treat her right. Emmy for the moans and the miserable groan from the pain that she felt when I was born.
This episode of Worldview Everlasting is brought to you by the letter Awesome, the numbers Sweet Action, and Issues Etc. Talk radio for the thinking Christian. IssuesETC.org.
Mark chapter 9, verses 14 through 29. That's a big chunk. The story of Jesus healing a boy who is demon-possessed. We're jumping ahead a little bit from last week's text, almost an entire chapter. We're jumping over the transfiguration and the confession of Jesus as the Christ by Peter, which plays a pretty pivotal role in the entire book. And you might want to bring that up if you're preaching on that this week, that, this is a major thing that's going on. We're catching these little pieces of Jesus' life, but all this while, he is moving towards that cross, which we heard him do last year, well, at the first half of the church year, from Advent through Easter. So we're kind of going back and picking out the pieces we missed. One of the things that we skipped over and didn't look at that point was this healing of this boy. As Jesus is coming down off the mountain with Peter and John and James, they come upon the rest of the disciples in a heated debate in the middle of a crowd with a bunch of scribes who are kind of like friends with the Pharisees. Well, all the crowd, when they see Jesus coming down, they leave the argument and they go over and greet Jesus, and they're all excited about this. Jesus, can you handle this situation? And so he asks them, what are you arguing about? And a man in the crowd pipes up and he says, Teacher, I brought my son to you because he has a spirit who makes him alalan. It's an alpha privative for lalan, meaning able to talk. Well, alalan is like anti-lalan, not able to talk or mute. And whenever this spirit seizes him, it throws him down. And he foams at the mouth and he grinds his teeth and he becomes stiff as a board. So I asked your disciples to cast this spirit out, but they were not strong enough to do so. Now, the English in the ESV there says able. Being able to do something is going to show up in a little bit, but it's a different word in the Greek than this one. This one is literally iskuson, strong. They were not strong enough to do so. They could not overpower this demon. And this is interesting because these disciples have been given power over demons to cast them out. These are the 12 who have been chosen by Jesus to be ministers and preachers to Israel in that time and place with these kind of supernatural powers of healings and so forth, and yet they're not able to do it now. And Jesus replies with a little bit of, well, not so welcoming Jesus, right? This is like the angry, frustrated, really doesn't like sinners at all Jesus. This is like the wrathful, vengeful God of the Old Testament. How long must I deal with your sin, Jesus? Oh, faithless generation, you unbelieving wretches. Oh, even in the Greek, like oh, because it means oh, as in oh. How long do I have to exist with you? Yeah, I'm here to save you, but you know what? I could use getting this over with sooner than later because wow, your unbelief just frustrates me. How long am I to bear with you? Bring the boy to me. And when they brought the boy, even within the presence of Jesus, immediately it began convulsing again. And he fell on the ground and he rolled about and he foamed at the mouth. Well, Jesus asked the man, how long has he done this? And he says, from the time he was a child. And it also often casts him into fire or into water, trying to destroy him. But if you can do anything about this, have compassion on us. Huge word right there. Splachnistheis. This is the mercy word. Have mercy on us. Have your spleen pour out to us. Care about us and do something if you can, Jesus. If you can. Jesus says, if you can. What are you talking about, if I can? Do you know who you're talking to? I don't think he knows who he's talking to. Have you been watching what's going on like the last forever as I've been walking around? If I can. Huh? All things are possible for the one who believes. And now here is like a high point in the text for the one who has faith. This is a verse that can get pulled out of its context and be made to mean all sorts of things. If you just have faith, anything is possible. See, is that what Jesus is really talking about? Is he lauding the power of faith to do things, to have effects on the world? Is this power of positive thinking kind of teaching? Or is Jesus actually saying something entirely different, as in, if you will trust me, I can do anything for you, because I'm pretty much Jesus and God, right? So, if I can, hey, ask me like you actually believe I can do it, and I'll be happy to do it for you. But don't come at me and be like, I'm not sure about you, Jesus, but help me anyway. See, it doesn't work that way. So he's not lauding faith in faith. faith per se. He's lauding faith in an object, the correct object of faith, Jesus himself. He's lauding trust in the one true God. Not because putting your trust in the one true God is a magic formula to get you whatever you want, but because the one true God is trustworthy. And since Jesus is pretty much right there with these supernatural powers to do all sorts of things for the sake of his ministry, pointing to who he is, what he's going to do on the cross, don't come at me and say, if you can, just come at me and ask me to have mercy on you, because it's what I want to do, you know? Yeah. And the Father gets this too, because immediately he cries out, I believe, just help my unbelief, help my lack of belief. I'm sorry that as a poor miserable sinner, the first commandment is the main commandment I can't keep, and even though Jesus, I know who you are, I believe who you are at the same time, my sinful, wretched flesh doubts. Have mercy on me, a sinner. Yeah? At this point, Jesus sees that the crowd is just continuing to come closer and closer to this entire group. People are like, hey, Jesus is here. Hey, they brought the boy to Jesus. And so they're all coming together. So he just doesn't want to have too much of a scene. He's been all about this secrecy stuff, especially in Mark's gospel. So he says, yo, mute, deaf spirit, I command you, not if I can, I command you, out. Take a hike, and never, ever, ever, ever enter him again. And the thing cried loudly and convulsed his body, terribly so. And then it came out, and the boy fell and was down dead like a corpse. And people were starting to say, he's dead. Look, he died. But Jesus took him by the hand, and egero, resurrection word, raised him up, and he, anastasis, was raised up. Resurrected even, although not really, just kind of like a little timidly foreshadow. Something about resurrection going on in the midst of this death and life, and Jesus at the center of it all. Is he able? But then when he had entered a house, his disciples came to him privately and were like, why were we not able to do this? And he said, interesting words, this kind, this generation, this genea, this genus, this species of demon only comes out through prayer. Scary, huh? Although Jesus can just cast him out. Yeah. So what's the point in all of this? Obviously, again, the fact that, well, evil exists, Jesus has power, authority over evil, and there is a certainty in him that we don't have in ourselves. The cacophony is caused when the evil comes into connection with Jesus' purity, but the ultimate victor is Jesus, even though we are not able. He is able. He is strong enough. This all is going to really happen for sure against the wages of sin, not just the demons alone, but all of it combined at the cross, where in his death as the Son of God, he puts evil in its place, swallowing it into himself, being one who will never die again. Yeah? Yeah. All right. Catch you next time.
Always for the oven with the burning heat, where he stood making sure I had something to eat. T is for the time.